I would like to say that my heart was broken. I would like to say that I was devastated by her actions, but I can't. Honestly, I felt more relieved. Did I want things to be different? With all my heart that I loved her. I cared for her. I wanted to build a life with her. I wanted to have children with her and raise them together in love and happiness, but it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't always like this. Once we had a very happy life, and we were deeply in love, at least I was. The details of our romance don't really matter, but we dated, went on dates, had fun, experienced many adventures in several exotic places, and I thought we would spend a long and happy life together. We were both young, got higher education, and had a great, well-paying career with ample room for growth. We bought a nice house in a good area and were on the right path to fulfilling our dream. Linda is a beautiful, intelligent woman. However, I came to learn that she was also very manipulative, cruel woman who seemed to derive pleasure from causing others intense emotional pain whenever she wanted to. In short, she was a malicious bitch. If I were to describe myself, I am above average in looks and height, and I am in excellent physical shape. I'm not an Adonis, but I'm quite fit. We had been married for just over 3 years when everything began to change. I thought we shared the same values: honesty, compassion, family, and loyalty. Before getting married, we discussed extensively how much we valued honesty with each other. We also talked about how loyalty was an absolute necessity in our life, and there was no forgiveness for any act of infidelity. We also discussed wanting to have a family. We didn't decide on the number of children we wanted, but it was at least 2. After that, we could decide if we wanted more. Part of choosing our home was the excellent reputation of the schools in our area. Our discussions also revolved around when we would start a family. We decided that the ideal scenario would be to live as a couple for about 3 years. We thought this would give us time to establish ourselves at work and save some money, especially if Linda decided not to return to work after having children. However, when the time came, she wanted to wait a little longer before giving up birth control. I was okay with that, but she was very vague about when we would start a family. Again, I didn't push the issue but asked why she thought the timing wasn't right. Again, she was very vague and never explained why she wanted to wait. I was disappointed but didn't push things. I was prepared to give her space to think. Soon after that discussion, other things began to change. It happened gradually, but was as cliché as any story of marital infidelity. She started working late, not too late, but later than before. The reasons given were promises of a promotion with a good salary increase and a bonus. However, nothing concrete was said. Next was the infamous girls' nights out, G&O. She claimed she was getting to know the women she worked with on a more personal level. According to her, this would help with the mystical job advancement she was working on. During this time, she seemed to dress slightly better, more seductive, and took more care of her appearance. Of course, all of this was for the sake of career advancement. Alongside working late, G&Os, and spending a lot of time at the gym to reduce her stress, we were spending less and less time together. Additionally, her attitude towards me started to change. It all began with subtle remarks and gentle criticism. Nothing excessive, just more negative comments than ever before, and with a hint of sharpness. Moreover, the comments were about things that didn't really matter. It seemed like she was trying her best to offend me. In other instances, she behaved disrespectfully. I talked to her about it, but she always attributed it to stress from working on her promotion or to me being too sensitive. When I talked to her about the changes in her personality, she promised to do better, but it never happened. When I expressed myself more sharply about her behavior, she became defensive and/or openly started to humiliate me. When I confronted her about it, I received silence in return. This roller coaster of emotions was very tough for me. I valued communication, but either didn't get it, or it was so negative that at times I avoided open confrontation. However, there were moments when discussions turned into arguments. In other cases, her attitude was indifferent. She acted as if she couldn't care less about my feelings or concerns. I really felt like she was playing some twisted game with me. I was still trying to talk to her, trying to get her to tell me what was going on. I sent her text messages and emails where I shared my thoughts and feelings with her. I sent her cards and flowers to her workplace. I tried to arrange romantic dinners, suggested small trips together, proposed counseling. I tried to prevent the disaster our marriage was becoming. I repeatedly pointed out the problems as I saw them, but she simply denied there was an issue, or that I was exaggerating everything, or she made promises to do better. Yet again, she never really tried. In other instances, her verbal attacks were very cruel. These personal attacks, especially on deeply personal matters where I trusted only her, were very hurtful. Additionally, she accused me of trying to control her, of not wanting her to succeed, and so on. It was all pure nonsense. Instead of seeing the damage she was causing to our marriage and acknowledging our real problems, she started working even later, rarely had dinner with me. We hardly spent any time together. Several of our friends also saw her in restaurants, clubs, and other places with various groups of people, both men and women. Again, all of this was done in pursuit of career advancement. In other cases, she denied being where she was seen. Denials were particularly vigorous when she was seen with another man. Only a blind idiot wouldn't understand what was happening. However, after several months of her shitty attitude, lies, deceit, and lack of communication, I was ready for the life-changing event that would finally put an end to what was now a very unhappy marriage. However, instead of one great cataclysm, or finding undeniable evidence of her infidelity, or catching her in bed with someone else, I had a very simple realization. What the hell am I trying to save this marriage with this malicious bitch for? Yes, I consider her treatment of me evil. You can't claim to love someone, want to spend your life with them, but then treat them with such open contempt and lack of respect. Furthermore, by this time, I had no doubts that she was having an affair. Plus, we hadn't had sex in the past few weeks. The excuses were unconvincing, so I just stopped trying. Anyway, after my realization, I quickly decided to leave this marriage behind. I found a lawyer and asked them to prepare divorce documents. We had separate checking and credit card accounts, but a joint family account and a savings account. I split a fair amount from these accounts and simply deposited my share of the money into a separate account. We each had our own 401k accounts and investment accounts, so I didn't need to do anything about that. Then I asked the lawyer to file for the dissolution of the home contract. I didn't think she would fight the divorce and would probably sign the papers as soon as she received them. The company I worked for was an international conglomerate with offices all over the world and numerous branches in the United States. I arranged to transfer to another office on the opposite side of the United States. I just wanted to start a new life and thought a change of scenery would benefit me. My parents had passed away, my closest friends were scattered across the country, so again, nothing was holding me in this city. As soon as the divorce documents were ready, I called Linda and asked her to be home that evening so we could discuss everything. I wasn't going to serve her at work. I planned to hand her the documents in person. She claimed she was working late, but I told her that for our marriage, it was extremely important for her to be home so we could talk. Her response was that I was king of drama, and she would be home by 9 p.m., and then we could talk, provided she was in the mood and not too tired. I assumed she was probably meeting with her lover or someone else, indifferent to whom, so I arranged and paid an extra fee to the processing server to track her and then serve her, wherever she was, at 6:00 p.m. that time. I had already packed everything that belonged to me into my SUV. Besides clothes, I didn't really have many personal belongings. I left all the furniture, photos, household items, and small souvenirs that Linda and I had collected throughout our marriage. None of it interested me. I made sure that, except for the photos, there were no traces left of me ever living in that house. I didn't destroy anything in the house or do anything that could lead to any dramatic statement. I simply didn't have the strength for it. I also didn't leave her any notes. I had been trying to talk to her for weeks, so I decided that the divorce papers would be loud enough. Besides, I had nothing else to say. At 6:05, I received a notification from the processing server that she had been served at a local restaurant where she was having dinner with some GUY.at 607. Linda called me, but I declined the call and then blocked her number. Again, I had nothing more to discuss with her, so I didn't see the point in answering the call. Then I got into my SUV and drove away from my hometown. About 10 minutes into the drive, I received a call from an unknown number. It was a crying Linda. She begged me to talk to her, saying she was already on her way home so we could discuss our problems. I simply told her to sign the papers and hung up. After that, I didn't answer any calls. Once I got tired, I pulled into a motel and spent the night. The next morning, I checked my phone and saw multiple text messages and voicemails. Most of them were from Linda from another phone. A few were from her friends, and one was from her father. Except for her father's voicemail, I deleted all of them and blocked the numbers of all the phones that sent messages. After eating, I set off on my way, heading to my new job and new home. Then I called her father and had a brief conversation with him. Supposedly, Linda was devastated by the divorce and completely stunned. He also claimed that she needed to talk to me and that she would do everything possible to be together. I simply told him that it's done. I hinted to him that for several months, I tried to get her to talk to me, but she wasn't interested in resolving the issues as I saw them. I also told him that I knew about her affair, and that broke the deal for me. He asked me for proof, but I told him I didn't have any photos or anything like that, and I hadn't looked for them. Her lies and deceit, coupled with disrespect and lack of communication, made me not trust her. I lost all trust in Linda, and I have no interest in trying to reconcile. I've always gotten along with him, so I showed him respect by talking to him and letting him try to convince me to come back. But I said, what's done is done. In the end, he was dissatisfied, and he began to show animosity toward me. Instead of responding in kind, I wished him a good life and hung up. Over the next few weeks, I received numerous phone calls and text messages from many friends and acquaintances, but usually, I didn't respond or replied briefly. They all claimed that Linda was devastated, but I thought she was playing the victim. Maybe she had her own realization, but it didn't matter to me. I was no longer interested in her or her desires. My life with her was over. I did hear from my lawyer about the possibility of court-mandated counseling, but a quick teleconference with my lawyer, her lawyer, and the judge made that question irrelevant. I clearly stated my position regarding our marriage and reconciliation, coupled with the fact that I now lived thousands of miles away, so the judge denied her request. I never believed that Linda truly wanted reconciliation. I thought and still think it was all for show. And again, it seemed she enjoyed playing the victim. Since I never answered calls from numbers not in my contacts list, I never spoke to her in person. However, she managed to leave me several voicemails. As soon as I heard her voice, I simply deleted them, blocked the number, and of course, never responded. She also tried to send me emails, but once I realized they were from her, I just blocked the address and deleted them. Finally, a little over 6 months after I left, I received the divorce decree by mail. After that, I heard almost nothing about Linda. Sometimes I heard about her from a few friends and acquaintances, but mostly I politely listened and never asked for details. Over time, she stopped being mentioned. I never understood what happened to her that made her treat me this way. The change in her was very drastic and uncharacteristic, at least for the person I knew her to be. Maybe she was pretending all the time I knew her, and her fake facade eventually cracked. Or maybe she had some mental disorder. Or maybe the prospect and reality of starting a family drove her mad and marked the beginning of the downfall of our marriage. I will never know. But I have come to terms with my decision never to find out what caused her to treat me and our marriage so disrespectfully and bitterly. I know some people might want to know why I didn't try to burn that bitch, but honestly, I had neither the desire nor the energy. It takes too much effort and time to fix everything. Once I had my epiphany, I saw no need for revenge, and I didn't need any proof of her infidelity. What would that prove, especially since I didn't care who was to blame for the end of our marriage? If she lied and told the world I was at fault, who cares? I no longer let her control me in any way. Besides, I distance myself from her and everyone else in this city. I don't care what they think of me. I use my chance to start over, as I wished and needed. In the end, living well is the best revenge, and I am certainly living that way.
Thank you for being with us and listening until the end. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave your comments.